Hello, today we're going to do a royal talk video. Now, today I thought we would talk about King George IV's wife, Caroline of Brunswick. Of course became Prince of Wales, and for a little while Queen of England, even though she was never recognised. So here we go. So, Caroline of Brunswick was born in Germany. So hello, her parents were Prince Charles, Duke of Brunswick, and Princess Augusta of Great Britain, who would of course become Duchess of Brunswick. All in all, she had a relatively good life over there in Germany. She was the prince's first cousin, so in that respect she was of a rather royal bloodline. And so yes, she spent a lot of her time being taught how to act like a royal princess and how to behave in a royal court, which she was able to do. Of course, when it came to the question of her marriage, the discussion was held by her father and the King George III. Now, because of the fact that George III's son, like I already mentioned, was in terrible debt, even up at this point in his life, the marriage could not have come at a better time, because the large dowry that Caroline's father would give the prince for his wife, when it was all arranged, they never saw each other in real life. A painting was sent of Caroline to the Prince of Wales, and a portrait of George was sent to Caroline in Germany. And of course, the whole point of it was to show off the power and the personality of the person that the painting was of, but also covered over some of the physical flaws of the individual. And I'll mention that when Caroline saw the picture, she thought the prince was very beautiful. He seemed very intelligent. He seemed to be a safe pair of hands for her to marry, and also a very safe pair of hands to carry on the British monarchy after his father dies. Of course, one of the most known facts about their relationship is when she arrived and she meets her future husband the day of the marriage. They were less impressed with each other. She herself said that he was nothing like the portrait that was sent to her, and he himself was less than flattering about her. But the marriage went on as planned, and they were married in Westminster Abbey. Now, after the marriage, they very rarely saw each other. Caroline herself knew that her husband had mistresses, and even the lady of her bedchamber was his favoured mistress of that period. So she was very aware of it, but she was a duty had to be performed, and it was done so, and it was soon found out that she was pregnant. George himself was very relieved by this point, because it meant that he would not have to go near his wife again, and they separated. So with that, they lived in completely separate houses. They saw each other possibly once a month during the pregnancy, just to see that she was alright and that the baby seemed to be growing normally and the pregnancy was fine. And it was a perfectly acceptable Georgian pregnancy to have happened at that time. Obviously, when the baby was born, to a lot of people's disappointment, it was a girl instead of a boy. So, it then, over the next couple of years, there would be audiences with the Prince of Wales, and Caroline would bring the baby, Charlotte would bring the baby Caroline to the Prince of Wales and to the King and Queen, who were the grandparents, just so the baby's life could be could be shown that everything is going fine. Then, of course, when the child was a bit older, the Prince of Wales decided that he was not happy with the way she was being raised by her mother, and so he decided to take her and raise her himself. Now, of course, that meant taking her away from her mother, taking her out of the city of London and putting her into a royal palace, far away from anyone, not seeing the rest of the family, and only really seeing her father once a month, and very rarely ever seeing her mother. Fortunately, the Prince of Wales didn't think this plan through, and he actually employed servants who preferred his wife, Charlotte, than her husband. So they, over the years, they would sneak in Charlotte to see her daughter when the prince was away or far away from the residence, so she could see her daughter. With this, she was able to be influenced by her mother and try and follow what her father was saying, which was trying to teach her how to be good heir apparent. So, even though they didn't live together, they never got divorced, but it still pained Charlotte when it came out about her husband's infidelity, even though, of course, she was very aware of all the mistresses that he had. It pained her that he was so carefree with it and he didn't try and hide it. And so with that, she just tried her best to carry on, and she tried to create a life for herself. As the years have gone by, her father-in-law, King George III, became increasingly deeper into madness, and her husband, the Prince of Wales, became the Prince Regent, and she, with her husband's increased power, it increased his power over society. And one of the things he did was he actually enforced a lot of the high people in the high society to remove them from her, from their inner circles. So she was almost completely isolated from her usual people that she would socialise with. She was not invited to house parties, she was not invited to dinners, she was not invited to balls, she was not invited to anything. Now, like I said about her, Charlotte's increasing isolation, it was brought along by her husband over his regency. This was, of course, within the high society. Strangely enough, actually, with many of the ordinary members of the population of Great Britain, she was still highly popular. So, in that respect, it was he had control over the people that could make things happen, but the rest of the country was very much in her corner. Now, over the last few years of her father-in-law's life, she was actually put herself into almost an self-induced exile from Great Britain. She only really came back a few times, and then when and over that period, it was one of those times was to come to her daughter's wedding to Prince Leopold of Saxe-Coburg-Gotha, Duke of Saxony. And with that, anyway, there was just that very much that way of thinking that the life of the family, she would still have to be very much, she would have to carry on being, still being there, but she couldn't physically be there, but she wanted everyone to know that she was still around. So during her enforced exile, she would go and visit places. She would go and she would be seen with important people and people that could influence the court of Great Britain. Once her husband, the Prince of Wales, Prince Regent, Prince George, became King George IV, she came back, and her husband actually sort of refused to allow her to be called Queen. He even actually wanted to lessen her title from Princess of Wales to some other demeaning title that was less important. Obviously, over that period, she became very ill over the next couple of years, up to the point where she died. And she all she really wanted to do was she never wanted to get back with her husband, but she would have loved to have been around for her daughter more over her daughter's childhood, and she would have also have loved to have been around when her daughter was pregnant and assist with the birth of that baby, and possibly spot something earlier about Charlotte's distress and illness that evidently killed her after childbirth. Thank you very much for watching this video, and I shall see you next week. Goodbye.